Good morning, Dyslexic in America. Today is Saturday, September 24th, 2011. And today's topic is dyslexics, the need to impress. And I know by hearing the title, the need to impress, you're automatically going to believe I'm going to talk about dyslexic people and their need to have other people self-validate who they are. Well, that would sort of be against my statement, the year of self-affirmation. Actually, I'm here to talk about how, as dyslexics, we really do not have the need to impress. I gather it comes from the ultimate right and wrong we build as a characteristic with letters and stuff jumping around and things not looking the same. We always want things to be either or. So early on in life, we learn not how to look to impress other people, but to do things what we consider ultimately right or wrong. Examples is when I got married, I didn't get married because I thought, oh, my mother would like it, or oh, everybody's expecting me to get married. I got married because I met somebody and I was told at a very young age, when you got married, it was forever. So don't get married unless you could see yourself spending your whole life with somebody. And when I met this person, I knew immediately that this was a person I could grow old with. It took me, I was 31, 32 when I met the person. So I don't do things because I have the need to impress. I do things because I believe they were ultimately right and wrong. When I went back to college, I was a little older, and the reason I went back to college wasn't because everybody told me you needed education to make life work. I was going along in life, living life very happily, having a good time, and something said, Leon, you want to go to college because you want to learn how to do computer programming and other stuff. So I went to college because it was what I wanted to do. Even when other people told me, well, you're dyslexic, you're never going to read above a 4.4, going to college is not a good idea. I mean, my whole life is full of examples of doing things that is based off not the need to impress, but what I consider ultimately right and wrong. The same reason when I was a kid, I spent a lot of time in Harlem and East Orange, New Jersey. And if you know anything about East Orange, New Jersey, in the late 70s, early 80s, it was a really rough place. The reason I didn't become a criminal, love my mom and dad, love the people around me, had nothing to really do with them. At a young age, one of the old timers told me straight up, before you do a crime, you need to measure the effect of the crime and what you can gain out of it compared to what you can do in jail time. So if I'm going to do a crime that I can get 10 years for and I get $1,000 and get away with it, was it worth it? And the answer is no, because if I get caught, is doing 10 years for $1,000 worth it? So the reason I never became a criminal, never sold drugs, never did any of that was because the jail time was not worth the crime for what I could make at a legitimate living or even standing on the street begging and borrowing. So I've early on decided, well, crime wasn't the route to go. So when you based all your decisions in life on not what people, not the perception to be approved by other people, but what you truly believe right or wrong is, it's hard for lateral thinkers to deal with you. I mean, me and my wife goes through this all the time. You should dress neater, you should do this. Well, it's not about other people's opinion to me. Other people's opinion don't ever matter. It's truly about what I consider right and wrong. So part of this story is to tell you, as parents, especially dealing with dyslexic kids, you have to come off with the concept that they do things for your approval. You have to come off the concept that they react like you do. You have to really come to the concept of, you have to explain to them, give them a logical basis, and it's easier to get them to go down that path. I tell a story all the time. When I was between coming out of 8th grade, going to 9th grade, getting ready to go to high school, I met this girl, had to be like 1979, 1980, and her name was Liza. And within the first 10 minutes of our conversation, she said, I want to be a lawyer. I know Liza to this day, 30 plus years. What she did was go to college and become a lawyer. She knew immediately what she wanted to be, and she always followed that path. Now, I don't think Liza's a dyslexic. Matter of fact, she might not be, but you can never tell. But that mindset reminds me so much of the dyslexic mindset. Once we decide this is what I want to do, it's not based off her father was a lawyer, her mother was a lawyer. Matter of fact, her father was a computer programmer, her mother was a school teacher. In her mind, that set was that she wanted to become a lawyer, and that's what she was going to do because for some reason at an early age, that was her passion. That's how you have to deal with dyslexics. When you're trying to convince a dyslexic, hint to the wife, that something needs to be done, you can't say, well, party A is going to see it this way, party B is going to see it this way. None of that matters. You have to have a real concrete, logical argument. So parents of dyslexic kids, when you are trying to talk to your kids about doing something, come off that, what you feel and what you believe and all that. Tell a kid a logical reason. Old man told me about crime. I've always remember that. What my grandmother told me about marriage, I always remember that. So what my other grandfather told me about the respect of women and men should never lay their hands on, I always remember that. So it has to be something very logical, something that they're going to remember, and something they can judge. When you get into emotions and talking about, oh, does a dyslexic have to have somebody approve what they're due? No, we don't, because we don't look for approval. So even in my business career, it's very hard for lateral thinkers to understand, well, he doesn't do that for approval. No, I do that because it's either right or wrong. And I live and die by right or wrong sometimes. And it's hard for people to, sometimes people see it as ego. Sometimes people see it as not listening. But it's truly a matter of you have to do what's right or wrong. So does a dyslexic need your approval? No. Is it nice for a dyslexic to have your approval? No, we really don't care about it. Is it nice for dyslexic to know that they're doing what is ultimately right or wrong? Yes, that's what we care about. So a hint to you parents out there, when you're talking to that dyslexic kid and he's dyslexic and you're telling him how you feel, you might as well be, blowing wind in the air. It doesn't mean anything. You have to explain to a kid who with dyslexic ultimate right and wrong. And I keep coming back to this ultimate right and wrong because you lateral thinkers can't get this concept in your mind. And I have to get the concept in my mind when I'm talking to a lateral thinker. It's how you feel and what other people are going to perceive of you if you don't do something. That's how I have to convince you to do A, B, and C. Compared to when I'm talking to another dyslexic, it's okay, this is ultimate right or wrong. My last little story is when I decided to go back to church and dedicate my life to God. Believe it or not, it didn't have anything to do with internal damnation. It didn't have anything to do with, oh, I'm afraid what other people are going to think because I don't go to church. At a point, I decided that my life should be about something else beside myself. My life should serve a purpose. And the way I felt that my life could serve a purpose was going back and dedicating my life to God and following his teachings, because his teachings is about serving a purpose. So once again, as a dyslexic, what I need to tell you is you must really realize, or as a person dealing with dyslexic, our train of thought is very, very unique. It's not really about what you would think it was. So even going back to church to me wasn't why other people go to church, community view, internal damnation. It was about dedicating my life to a purpose besides myself, greater than myself. And I felt that the Bible had very good teachings and very good philosophy to go that route. And I always believed in God, so it was something that I went back to church to do. So once again, as Leon Lewis from Dyslexic in America, thank you very much for your time. And the topic today was, does a dyslexic need your approval? And the answer is no.